Uh-oh. Here comes trouble.
Straight from beautiful North Wahpeton, it's the Grovcast. Alright, flip it. What's up, everybody? Eric Grover here, Daily News Sports Editor, and let's get right into things. It's playoff time, baby. And Wahpeton is playing well. You got to be happy with their first round performance if you're a fan of the Huskies. Moving the ball on the ground, just like they've done all year. Shout out to Zane Medhog for another great game. He's a senior, and behind a senior-laden offensive line, he, along with Grippentrog and Lane, those trio of runners, they're getting it done. And they're going to have a big test this Saturday, heading back to Grafton. Now, Grafton has been the best team in the state at the 2A level all year long. There's no denying that. They can do everything. They're big up front. They can play D. They can run the ball when they want to, but the most problematic issue that they cause for opponents is their passing offense. Now, when the Huskies took on Grafton a few weeks ago, well, it's probably over a month ago now, they weren't able to throw the ball because of the elements. The wind was just howling, and it was hard enough to kick the ball, let alone throw it. Well, the forecast doesn't look like we're going to have 50-mile-an-hour gusts, so it's going to be up to that Huskies pass defense to get things done. And they've been a little suspect this year. They've been open to the big play. That's going to need to change if they're going to want to advance. Grafton has not been beaten, and that's going to be a tough task, but if there's a team with the skill players and size to do it, it's Wahpeton. This is their chance. This is the Huskies' year to do things, so hopefully they can get it done. And let's talk about science volleyball real quick, getting into the district showdown, and they'll be taking on the number 9 team in the country, Columbus Community College out of Nebraska. That's going to be a big showdown on Friday and Saturday. So all the volleyball fans out in the crowd, sure to get out there and support your Wildcats because they're going to need it. The Wildcats have been great this season. They have gone above and beyond expectation, and they're getting it done with different players each game. I talked to Jane Pesa the other day. She said that she's got 6 players that can attack, defend, that really can do it all. And it's dangerous when you have that many offensive options for the other team. Who's going to step up on Friday or Saturday? It could be one person from one set to the next, and that's the exciting thing about this team. They hit the ball hard, and they defend very well. Katie Gotzinger has really stepped into some big shoes and done well. Really done well. So good luck goes out to the Wildcats this Friday and Saturday. Let's see if they can make it to Nationals. It's Miles Trump time in the Grovcast. Got the Daily News reporter and sports enthusiast stopping by. How's it going, man? Yeah, well, hey, let's talk some sports. We got a lot of stuff going on, but let's go into the pro world.
Okay.
And what do you want to start with?
Well, fresh off of ESPN, there's an interesting debate today about whether you would trade Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, to get a pick for Andrew Luck.
That's a tough call. Now, what would you do? Because I'm inclined to go either way on this one.
Either way, it can't hurt. Let's just say that first and foremost. I think Peyton's getting a little on the old side. That's pretty clear.
But he's still an MVP caliber player.
Right.
MVP, I should say.
He's had some kind of quirky neck injuries, which makes me a little nervous. But I also, on the other side, don't know how good Andrew Luck actually is going to be. I know he's really hyped, but I can't tell how good he actually is.
Well, let's go back to your neck injury thing for a second.
Yep.
Now, this is the first injury of Peyton Manning's career. I don't know if you remember this, but until this year, he had played in every single game ever that he has been suited up for the Colts. His rookie year, day one, he was out there starting. So he has just been the face of reliability since Favre left. Speaking of Favre, the whole thing brings me back to Favre and the whole Rodgers, Favre, Manning, Andrew Luck thing. There's too many similarities there. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and I can imagine that there are going to be tons of Indianapolis fans who would never forgive the Colts for trading away Manning.
Ever. They never would.
No. I mean, for what Favre did for Green Bay, you can make the argument that Peyton Manning succeeded even what Favre did in Green Bay in terms of what he did for Indianapolis, because he put them on the map. He built them a stadium. He won them a Super Bowl. How many MVPs does he have? I mean, the parallels with Favre is unbelievable. Again, that's almost you almost broke a bottle. So, yeah, I think we're very similar on this with our viewpoints, because I think that Luck isn't a can't miss either.
Well, here's the other thing is that the Colts, let's say they get the number 1 pick, and they have the option of Andrew Luck. Do you take Andrew Luck and sit him for a couple of years?
Yes.
See, that's where they had talked about Peyton. They don't think that Peyton Manning is the mentor type quarterback.
Well, neither was Favre.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same.
Right.
I mean, he will learn from Peyton Manning just by being around him. I mean, you talk about involved quarterbacks. Who runs a more complex, detailed offense than Peyton Manning? Just being around him, standing next to him in practice, watching him from the sidelines with binoculars. If I'm the coach of the Colts, or the GM, whatever, I draft Andrew Luck, I say, you watch everything he does for these 2 years, and then you're the guy. You watch how he brushes his teeth, how he puts on his pants, how he calls, how he makes an audible. You just learn to be him, and you will become the next Peyton Manning, maybe. I mean, what are you saying? He's the first can't-miss guy since Peyton Manning? And Ryan Leaf. Let's not forget about that. Let's not forget who went number 2.
Okay, let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
And it comes down to a more fundamental question.
Yeah.
Do you think Andrew Luck will be as good as he's expected or hyped up to be?
Well, probably. The guys who, do the jobs as scouts, when they have a consensus like this, it's usually pretty accurate. But I don't know. I still don't know if it's the right move to just ditch Peyton Manning like that. He's still got 2-3 years left, I don't know.
So, if it came down to that, where do you see Peyton Manning fitting in? What team?
Well, I guess not the Vikings anymore, right?
Right.
They're out of the question. Maybe a place like Cleveland. Though it would be tough to see a team pull off a trade in the division. I would say Miami seems the best bet, because Oakland has their quarterback now with Carson Palmer. You could go to Arizona, but they just paid money for Kevin Kolb, but I don't think he's that great. Houston. Now there's an idea. I mean, I think Matt Schaub is okay, but they could definitely use an upgrade there. Or Kansas City. I don't know. You just pick a team that has a bad quarterback, and that's an option,
Interesting.
You could even go to Buffalo, really.
Think so?
Maybe.
Take Fitzpatrick's job.
Absolutely. Dude, what is this guy proven? I don't think he's that good.
Okay, speaking of quarterbacks, let me flip it on you.
Okay.
What have you thought about Tim Tebow so far?
Well, I haven't had a chance to watch any of his games, so I don't think that it would be fair for me to comment on it, but it doesn't look like he's doing that great. But I saw this column on ESPN written by some idiot, I don't even remember who said, it's time to move on from Tebow already. You know, it's time to look at their options, their future at quarterback, and I just think that's stupid. The guy has played 2 games as a quarterback, and sure, he hasn't been great, but...
It's been painful to watch at times.
Have you?
Even though he got
Did you watch it? Have you watched any Tebow?
I saw the end of the game that they won in overtime 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But
and even the fact that they won, it was still a bad game.
It was pretty brutal, but he helped them win at the end. The second game of the highlights I saw, which could be a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
But it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. The Lions.
No, well, the Lions are a good team.
Let's just say in fantasy football, the Lions scored 32 points against them. That pretty much sums up Tim Tebow's performance.
Oh, that's good.
Last Sunday.
You know what? I should have had the Lions D this week. I wasn't thinking. I don't know. The Lions have a tough D. And the Lions are suddenly a decent team. And Denver is nowhere near where it used to be, where it was winning Super Bowls and getting the playoffs every year and dominating the AFC West.
Right. It doesn't help that they also traded Brandon Lloyd to the Rams.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you give him a deep threat or target? I mean, I guess he's been...
His best receiver right now is Eric Decker, probably.
Was Brandon Lloyd a head case or something? Is that why they moved him?
I don't know. All I know is that he led the league in receiving yards last year, so...
Alright.
I don't know.
Well, Tebow's got some work to do, and they'll let him play out the rest of this season and the first 4 games in the next season before they even think about making a quarterback change, so I don't think it matters much. So he'll have plenty of time to prove himself if he's the real deal. But you got to remember that everyone thought that Tebow couldn't do it. You know, this guy can't play quarterback in the league. He's going to have to be a fullback or a receiver or something, you know. So,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So, the Vikings could be out of a stadium here. It's not looking good. And I gotta ask your opinion about this, since you're a Vikings fan. Where does this whole stadium thing impact your fanhood on a week-to-week basis, not knowing on whether you might have a team or not?
Yeah, it's a little concerning, I would say. I think they'll get a stadium deal done. It just depends on there's a lot of proposed plans out there, and the Vikings have their plan in agreement with a stadium in Arden Hills right now, which is just outside of St. Paul.
Right.
It's at an old munitions army site that'll be cleaned out. They want to put a stadium there. The other plans are...
Like an old army base.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
The other plans are to keep it at a couple of different sites in Minneapolis, and there's also another plan floating out around there too. So it just depends on it sitting down to hash out a stadium deal with the Vikings, the legislature, and saying, how are we going to fund this? Where's it going to be? What's going to happen?
You think that would be an easy problem to fix? Where does the money come from? I saw something about increasing the sale of all beverages by a couple pennies.
Yeah, there's been a lot of proposed plans. One is increasing maybe like a percentage of a percentage on sales tax. There's all sorts of different ways that they're looking at trying to fund it with public help.
Well, I saw one about a proposed casino being built in downtown. That's a great idea.
That's another part of it. That thing has a whole another set of legs.
Yeah.
But, they're looking at a casino in the Block E section of Minneapolis, which is right downtown.
Yeah, right by the stadium.
Yep, and the casino would help, revenue from the casino would help fund the stadium.
Wow.
I That'd be a crazy project, to say the least.
You definitely get a full weekend going down to the Twin Cities now.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah. Well, if you had to give a percentage on what you think the odds are of the Vikings getting this new stadium, what number would you put in?
They're going to get a new stadium. I'm pretty positive.
You're 100%.
Not quite 100, but I'm fairly positive.
So if you had to pick a number.
Higher than 9. That they get a new stadium.
Higher than 90?
90%, yes.
Yeah, okay. That's where I'm at, too.
Yeah.
I'm right at that area. If you asked me this question 2 weeks ago, I would have said 100%. They're absolutely getting this stadium. There's too many teams lined up in front of them for moving. You look at a team like Oakland. Not Oakland. Well, Oakland's moved a ton of times. It wouldn't surprise me to see them move back to LA. Look at a team like Jacksonville with no solid fan base. They haven't sold out a game in 5 years. Their home games are being blacked out, and they're giving away tickets. They can't give them away. And then you look at a team like the Chargers with an old archaic stadium, and they're right down the highway. Those fans can change. They can cross out SD and put LA on their, or they'll just be the California Chargers. That's my Schwarzenegger. Be the California Chargers. That would be perfect. So when you look at those teams have old stadiums or the need to move. And I was at the Vikings game 2 weeks ago, and they said it was like their 140th or 170th straight sellout. I can't recall the number, but it was well into the 100s.
Right.
When there's that kind of support, there is no chance that you are going to get moved. There's no point if you are selling out your stadium.
Especially, think about last season when the Vikings were terrible.
Exactly.
And
they're terrible this year.
Yeah.
And
terrible on the rise.
Yeah, terrible on the rise. Yeah, but the fans are coming out and supporting them, and God bless them, Because speaking as a Packers fan, I think it would suck if the Vikings had to go all the way out west. It's important to keep that, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota thing where it is. I like that. I like them being right there. I like the NFC North. Tampa never belonged.
My take on the stadium is that the majority of the fan base, this is just my opinion, or what I think, the majority of the Vikings fans wouldn't mind paying a little bit extra on their sales tax or whatever it is, on their beverages, whatever it comes down to fund a new Viking stadium.
But what about the people that don't?
Exactly. Yeah. They're the ones who are upset. That's a far bigger majority than the Vikings fans.
And they're probably a lot bigger majority than people. Anyone that is listening to this right now will be like, hey, yeah, you know what? Give me an extra 2 cents for my Coca-Cola. That's fine. I'm happy to pay it. But there, if you can believe it, are people around here who could not give two craps about the Vikings or football or sports in general, and it's unfair to them.
Yeah.
But they don't understand the economy that professional football generates.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you weigh those two, a new stadium is a no-brainer. It's just about alleviating those people that don't like football, but they don't understand how much money a Minneapolis home game generates the Twin Cities. When perfect example. Let's get, I was there watching thousands of Packers fans invading Minnesota, staying in your hotels, eating at your restaurants,
paying for parking.
Paying for unbelievably expensive parking.
And then paying for parking tickets.
And then paying...
towing.
Exactly. Because they tell the Minnesota cops, hey, keep an eye out on those Wisconsin license plates. Tow them all. Give them tickets. They can't appear. It's way too far. Just gouge the crap out of them. Get every meter made out there. I mean, and you're not even talking about the people who live in western Minnesota that have to drive 3 hours and make a day of going into town.
Right.
You know, the amount of money is so massive that, yes, there will be early losses, but it will take a long time. But in the long run, it'll be extremely profitable. And you can raise ticket prices, too. And people will gladly play it and pay it. Oh, my gosh, a new stadium? Oh, look how nice this is. Oh, look how things are old and crusty and covered in vomit like they are at the Metrodome. It's perfect.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, you just look at how big of a success Target Field is.
Yeah.
The same issue is for Target Field.
Target,
you don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a great thing to have it right smack dab in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
You know? But look at how much of a success it is. And they're selling beers for $7.50 and hot dogs for $10.
Yeah, oh man, they're rip off.
People go and they buy it because it's all part of the experience, and that's exactly what this stadium will be.
I went to a game at Target Field this year. The Brewers were in town, and I gotta go. You know, so I did. And I bought a ticket for $40. This ticket cost me. And I was like, oh, I just spent $40 on a ticket. That is like the most I have ever spent on a ticket in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a really great seat. I'm going to be way up front. I'm going to get to see all my favorite players right in front of me. This is going to be awesome. No, I was way up high I was in the second highest level.
Yep.
In the stadium. Like, there was only one little group of bleachers above me, and I'm like, looking at these guys, well, how much did you pay? And if you are charging $40 for that seat, where you are a square mile away from the action, imagine how much you can charge for NFL action, where the demand is there way more, because there's only 8 games, 82 at your building.
Exactly. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive they're going to get a stadium.
Yeah.
You know, just when and where.
Yeah.
And how, who's paying for it.
Yeah, we'll see. We gotta, it's too bad we're not rich. Otherwise, we just buy it for them to end the conversation. I'd happily do that.
Grove Trump.
Yeah, that's right.
Grove Trump Field.
I'd probably be excommunicated from the Packers community for funding the Vikings stadium, so I'll have to just put it in some, offshore accounts and kind of do it all shady like. All right, boys and girls, that's going to do it for another episode of the Grovcast. I want to thank Miles Trump, and good luck to all the area teams this week. All right, I'm out of here. Catch you next week on the Grovcast.